Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Detonation. I have with me a guest who's coming in, Kimberly Forsythe. She's going to be entering the race really soon, but I also have some housekeeping to knock over before that, so we'll bring her in as a guest. She's waiting in the wings, being very patient over there in the wings. But let's just get over this housekeeping, because this housekeeping will impact her, and we sort of want to set the mood, set the atmosphere for the continuation of this race. So it's just been published, the Codex 13 of Expectations of the U.S. Transhumanist Party Candidates Agreement. So basically what happened was the environment got competitive, and so now Gennady has said, okay, everyone, let's come together and let's now write out some expectations for the future projection of the race for current and future candidates, so that people have an idea of how to maneuver around the new modern battlefield and maybe survive to the end to become the transhumanist primary candidate to run for the president of the United States for the Transhumanist Party. So, as you can see here, it says, as part of this action plan previously announced by the U.S. Transhumanist Party, a transhuman party to elevate the tone of the 2019 campaign season, the current United States Transhumanist Party presidential primary candidates Rachel Haywire, Ben Zion, and Charles Holsopple, who you're all very familiar with by now, have met via a conference call on August 9th, 2019, and arrived at 13 major points which they agreed upon. And this will, set quote unquote desirable behavior to the new candidates who enter the race, while enabling each of the candidates to have a positive experience for all. So that's good. So some of these agreements are pretty interesting here. The candidates agreed that they express official position that Haywire is not a Nazi. Okay, so that's the first one down. So and we asked that on the latest Haywire one, are you a Nazi? And she said, no, I'm Jewish. I'm not even a Nazi Jew. So, she's not all right. She disavowed David Duke. She disavowed Richard Spencer. And she, and she explains all the time what her new art right is, her book. Strong criticism of Nazism, fascism, and the alt-right. So Haywire isn't a Nazi, and these accusations that she is been put to bed. So number two, candidates agree that any number of false flagging of content is completely undesirable. Yeah, come on, guys, this is a good one. Like, this is a nasty campaign strategy where you get your friends or your supporters, and they all come in, they false flag something, and you get the information torn down. It's nasty. It's stupid. It's unwarranted. Get rid of it. So they're getting rid of that into a rule. That's good stuff. And leave the groups alone as well. If groups are exclusive, don't try and stack polls or do all that other sort of underhanded stuff. Polls will be changing, as we know, sort of, but don't do any of this sort of stuff that because that's sort of digitally fake, if you know what I mean. The candidates agree to refrain from asking supporters to initiate hostile actions. Other candidates, that's online and offline, all this bullying stuff that's going on, it's outrageous. The candidates agree to adhere to the principle of proportionality if faced with frustrating, offensive, or even more damaging conduct by others. The candidates will only respond to the level of offense or damage caused by such conduct, and will endeavor to avoid overreaction and disproportionately strong retaliation. So, that's a good one. So, if someone hurts your toe, don't break their heart. The USPT crowdsourced questions for the third virtual debate. That's important for us here at Detonation, because we're going to be running a big third virtual third debate. We're going to hopefully get lots of cool guests, call-ins, all sorts of things going on. So that'll be really good. And so they want to crowdsource those questions and not just have them on the fly. I think the debates can be modified, and so I'm good to see that. I'd like to see more modifications on the debates, but this is a good start. The candidates agree to collaborate and coordinate with positive and constructive tone for the remainder of the U.S. primary season. And this means not just existing candidates, this means to all you new ones coming in as well, who we'll be talking to. And I'm sure that they will, adhere to that. That's very good. It doesn't mean you have to be boring, and it doesn't mean you don't have to have an opinion or be a robot. I mean, but it does mean that the candidate shall not disparage the party, and it shall address grievances internally. Stop taking it out into these public forums, especially random Facebook threads or something. The candidates agree to keep the communication amongst themselves and the leadership more professional and more formal. That's, no just quick one-liner Twitter things. In recognition with that, any winning candidate would need to secure the support of at least 25%, so modified voting regulations. The candidates agree not to focus their election on rhetoric, controversies unrelated to the USTP, or the ideas of transhumanism, including any matters related to Jeffrey Epstein, which has been rocking the boat, or the history of Humanity Plus, which has also been rocking the boat. It's money. It's crazy. We don't want it anymore. It's out. But we'll see. The candidates agree to refrain from any rhetoric that undermine the perception of transhumanism with the public eye. When faced with multiple hypotheses and incoming facts regarding any given situation, the candidates agree to thoughtfully consider all reasonable hypotheses and not immediately attach themselves to the most egregious or extreme hypothesis. So think before you speak. That's what that one's saying. The candidates agree to give individuals whom they encounter during the campaign season the benefit of any doubt regarding those individuals' motivations, or even if those individuals' conduct appears to be less than ideal. Number 12, the candidates agree to keep super longevity or significant life extension as a significant area of focus during the campaign. Understood. The candidates agree to work to expand the reach of, so grow the pie. That's number 13. So grow the pie. You do need your votes from the members, but grow the pie as well. And if you could bring in more members that are part of your cadre, you'll be doing well. So let's jump over to a new candidate who's going to be filing and campaigning under these rules. So it's Kimberly Forsythe. Hey, Kimberly, how are you going?
Hi, Steele. I'm good. How you doing?
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So, why you want to do this crazy thing?
Well, I will say I entered somewhat reluctantly, and not to say that I don't, want to be a significant part of the party, but I want to be more of an inspiration as opposed to a leader within the party. So, I wanted to bring a little bit more cohesiveness. There was a little bit of there was a minute there where I decided to leave the party, and then I came back before Gennady announced the new rules. I wanted to give him an opportunity to revise that, and I think from going forward that there's a lot more promise to bringing cohesiveness to the group and to the movement itself.
Well, it's glad you come back, because this is the party that's going to go over the line at the end. So it's glad to see you back in there, and you might be shifting the debate back to a New World Optimist perspective. That might be good for rhetoric. So you are an official candidate now, yes?
Yes.
You've been announced on the website. You have a candidate profile up there. It's all looking very cool. So let's run through these standard questions. Kimberly Forsythe from New World Optimist. So discuss your background and why you think it would render you effective president of the United States.
Well, as I mentioned in my profile, I'm basically just earning my Ph.D. in the University of Life. I consider myself a polymathic futurist. I enjoy writing. I enjoy learning about new ideas, and thinking about the possibilities of the future. Other than that, I can't say that I have any like degrees or special education or special qualifications, other than just a significant passion for seeing humanity evolve beyond what we are right now, beyond our current human condition.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, do you think that humanity is in a good place like where we are currently with our current system?
Current system as far as our condition or our
Yeah, yeah, sure.
uh,
So, because our condition,
yeah.
like I, on human, on a human level, like human nature, where do you sit? You're the New World optimist, yeah. So it means maybe human nature is inherently good. It's inherently bad. It's primitive. It's a primitive base. Where are you on human nature?
On human nature itself, pretty much with everything in life, I tend to look in the gray area. When if people try to classify themselves as something, one way or the other, usually once you dig a little bit deeper, you realize that they, share values with the other side as well. So, as far as the human condition, I think that we are better than we have been in the past, obviously. I mean, look at how far we've evolved. But at the same time, we have a long way to go.
All right. So, what do you consider to be the most important aspects of transhumanism, and the kinds of impacts that should have upon the world? So, first part of the question: most important aspects of transhumanism. Kimberly Forsythe.
Most important aspects of transhumanism, I do believe. It depends on which side you're talking about. That's one of the things that I posed. One of the questions that I posed to the original candidates in the first debate is, kind of uniting what exactly transhumanism means. It means different things to different people. And for me, I think that all of the aspects are extremely important. Um, Not to go too philosophical in this first interview, but I believe that at some point we will evolve in a way that will allow the intelligence that has whatever you want to call it that has created us and has you know gone through the ages with us will eventually continue on, and however that might be, whether it is us traveling the stars, it wouldn't be us, transhumans, post-human, but it's not too sorry. Like I said, I've been up all night, so
Yeah,
please
that's
excuse
yeah,
me.
yeah.
But yeah, so it just, I think all of the aspects are extremely important. I mean, they're very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, super longevity, the different technology focuses, and some of the philosophical aspects. So a whole
They all have
you're
so
a
many
whole
different.
swath.
Yes, exactly. And each one is going to lead to new discoveries and new creations. And I'm just extremely excited to see what it holds, what's in store for us. I really am.
And what kinds of impacts should it have upon the world? These transhumanist philosophies and technologies.
The biggest thing is ending a lot of the suffering that we bring upon ourselves, that is brought upon ourselves in certain ways, such as in aging, in disease, but also a lot of the issues that we bring upon ourselves. Um, Kind of moving beyond some of our knee-jerk reactions, some of our human emotions, some of our worst tendencies, and finding cures to a lot of the things that ails us.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I want to make a comment, but I shouldn't. But yeah, what are the areas of the U.S. Transhumanist Party platform that you identify most strongly with?
Again, I this is why I say I'm a bit of a polymath. I don't have a particular strong area. I believe that we should be focusing on all of them. And in order to be able to do that, we need to come together as a group and we need to really focus. We can create groups from there to focus on each and every single aspect. Um, yeah, I can't single out one because I think they're all just, it's too important.
All too important. Okay, that's fantastic.
They're all too important, yes.
What, in your view, are some of the major problems in contemporary American society, and how can transhumanism aid in resolving those problems?
There are a lot to list. I mean, honestly, we could go on and on and on, couldn't we? But I do think that a lot of again, it's this constant division between left and right. That is one thing that I really hope that the Transhumanist Party can help to resolve. I, for one, think that the crony capitalism that exists in the United States is extremely detrimental, not only to humans, but also to the planet. And there are a lot of aspects of that that I would like to see go away. Um, if you ask me a specific question, I can give you a better answer. But broadly speaking, I think overall, the vast majority of the United States system is broken and it needs to be completely reformed.
Okay, so you allude to economics there. So, a major problem is crony capitalism. So, do you think, for example, breaking up the banks, like Elizabeth Warren keeps going on about, is a good idea?
Oh, yes, definitely. I understand one thing that sometimes people tend to forget is how intermingled everything is. If you break something up or you sometimes even make the slightest move, it can have adverse effects in the economy. So, if we're going to do these things, I agree wholeheartedly with breaking up the banks. I agree with creating, if you really want to know, if we want to go that deep into it, I agree with it, creating a moneyless society. But I also understand that at this point in time, we are so intertwined and intermingled with all of these different aspects of life that breaking up one will create economic hardships. And it's usually going to be for the poorest, percentage of the population. So if we do that, we damn well better have safety nets in place that keep people from starving in the streets and creating civil war and all of the horrible things that you can imagine once we go into something that would be worse than the Great Depression ever thought they would see.
And how can transhumanism aid in resolving some or, if not all, of the problems?
Well, again, I think it all depends on which aspect we're talking about here. If you want to talk about having brain computer interface implants put in, then that can possibly open up a world of knowledge to those people who are otherwise often tempted to focus solely on the superficial. If you go into anti-aging and super longevity, well, that can kind of take away some of people's fears of growing old and dying without achieving anything in life. Multifaceted approach there. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so death seems to be one of the fear of death seems to be one of these big drivers of a lot of the angst and issues that pervade society. So, yeah,
Yeah.
so somehow pushing that off might be a solution through technology. And increasing an abundance of resources, so you get surplus resources, which would mean that there would be less people stressed on shorter term problems, and they can shift their focus to media and or longer term issues, which is what you need for a very healthy functioning society. If you want to run a society, keep everyone focused on short term issues, and you'll have them like that. All right, in your view, what aspect of contemporary American politics? Oh, we've done that one. If elected president of the United States, what policy measures will you pursue?
Um, Again, for and because I just entered the other day, so I was not expecting to do this. I am still hashing out some of the places that I personally would focus on. And again, I will reiterate, as being a polymath, I have to kind of uh, choose a little bit slowly, kind of wisely, because I could go on and on about pretty much every aspect. Um, for me personally, though, I definitely would like to see. as the other candidates have mentioned and has increased in popularity, the universal basic income. Another area that I would like to focus on is a project that's what led me to move to Estonia, and that is creating a high-tech aquaponics farm that also I love combining ideas, just so you know, combines the idea of a cryptocurrency called Gridcoin that was put out by the University of California at Berkeley. And Gridcoin is it basically offers an incentive for people to contribute their spare computing power to scientific research. So, you know, you leave your computer on at night and it processes whatever, you know, SETI or astronomy problems or drug research or whatever the case might be. But I'd like to combine Gridcoin and an aquaponics farm to kind of take it a step further so that people can kind of earn free or very low cost fresh food. So that would be another area that I would look into, building more vertical farms, especially aquaponics farms if we can. And likely, I definitely want to go into super longevity. I've written a little bit about kind of hypothesizing whether or not we could use kind of the concept of digital DNA and digital metabolomes to actually have humans kind of born with a certain sense of instinct when it comes to subjects. Like, let's say you could write on DNA the theory of music, okay? And you are all of a sudden able to, without having like a brain computer implant, you're able to just kind of instinctually understand and easily learn complex subjects. So that would be something I'd really, really be interested in seeing if we could achieve, and a few others, but yeah.
Sort of very human, societal focused person, human-esque, society focused. That's what I've
Yes,
heard.
for now.
Yeah, I've heard solutions to agriculture. I've heard solutions to the human education deficit and you know currency, but in the context of sorting out deficit, like resource deficit issues.
Definitely, yes. That's a very concise way to put it. Thank you.
All right, no problem. If elected President of the United States, what changes do you hope to achieve during your first term in office?
Okay, so let's go into actual real world as opposed to like anything that I don't know, personally like to see, I should say. One thing I would do is I would definitely get rid of the electoral college. Okay, first and foremost. I would also try to sway people to step away from the idea that we need this left and right, red and blue bullshit. I would encourage more of a group think. As opposed to looking to one person to, you know, be a leader. Let's see, kind of drawing a blank here without wanting to go into too many different subjects. And definitely implementing the UBI. And like I said, the aquaponics farms, and I think that would be enough for the first 4 years.
Yeah, well, UBI would be hard enough. I mean, aquaponics. Yeah,
Yeah.
you could probably get that through you know, some sort of department. You say to a department, hey, you want some funding? Hey, push my aquaponics idea. So that wouldn't be too hard. But UBI would be a hard struggle. That's very interesting. So, what are your thoughts on the U.S. Constitution and its relevance and implications in the transhumanist era? Are transhumanism and the current U.S. Constitution compatible?
All right. So I have been known before to say to just rip up the Constitution and, you know, start it over. It laid out a wonderful framework, but it is also quite outdated at this point in time. It's a bit of a difficult one. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of drawing a blank here on how I really, really, truly feel like the transhumanism party would, gosh.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Are you not happy with this?
Okay, of course I'm happy with that part, but I'm sitting here going through other free speech and all this other stuff.
What about the separation of powers? I think isn't that a wonderful invention?
It is definitely, yeah. That's I do believe. Well, yeah, I don't believe in a totalitarian, dictatorship or anything like that. Um,
And the
but
U.S.
yes,
Constitution has amendments that are built into it. You can build amendments into it. I mean, what's wrong with that?
it does, and it does. And that's why I said it lays out a wonderful framework. But I think that there are a lot of other things that it is going to miss in the coming ages, and I think some of the things are rather, like I said, outdated. And how that ties into the transhumanist party, I'm still formulating my thoughts on a lot of this, and really hashing out what it is that I perceive. I'm fairly new to the party. I've only been a supporter for about 2 years, and um, you know, haven't really looked into it a whole lot.
That's
So
fine.
it may have been a little premature for me to have this interview at this point in time, but in subsequent interviews, I will be able to provide more concise answers.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, well, the door's open anytime. So a transhumanist campaign for president is primarily an educational endeavor. What are the key insights about which you would like to educate the public during your campaign? How would you like to educate them?
Well, for one, I think the biggest one for me personally right now is to eliminate a lot of the fear that surrounds it. A lot in personal interactions, a lot of the objection that I hear about it is either we're striving to be some sort of, which some people are, but some sort of just completely doing away with the human condition, and people want to be more natural. A lot of people want to kind of revert back to, in some ways, like 100 years ago, where we didn't have all this technology. And I think part of that comes from a lot of the crony capitalist abuse that has happened with technology, and therefore there's a lot of fear that surrounds it. So definitely want to squash that. The other aspects would just be educating on where the future is headed, kind of helping people to learn to roll with it. It's we're not going to stop it anytime soon. So fearing it is not going to be conducive to anybody or anything, and could cause more problems than people think.
So a campaign of normalization through education.
There you go. Yes. Very
Fan-
concise. Thank you.
Fantastic. That a president would need to act on behalf of the interests of the entire population with regard to members of the public who are either not transhumanists or maybe implicit transhumanists but not familiar with that term, what would make you an effective campaign candidate for appealing to them and representing their interests? So people who would fall into that category would be people who go to the doctors. They're extending their life, but they don't really understand that that's transhumanist.
Right. Well, I tend to try to see all sides of a subject and of a person's perspective. So I would definitely like to kind of approach them more on a human level, help them to understand that there is a term for what it is that they're looking to do. Um, for a long time, not recently, until recently, I didn't understand what transhumanism meant. I always wished, oh, God, I wish I didn't have to sleep, or I wish I didn't have to eat. And I was like, man, I wish they would figure out some way to do that. And then it was like, once I heard the term transhumanist and I started looking into it, that's when I was like, oh, somebody's trying. Oh, fantastic. Okay. I really support this. Let's do this. So yeah, I think I would kind of play a little bit on what you can commonly hear people say, something similar. I fear growing old. Okay, well there are people who are working on stopping that, and they're called transhumanists, or they're called, I'm sure as time goes on we're going to get more and more words. um, but yeah, so
That
that would
could
I think a more personalized approach.
that could be a strategy, inventing new words and new terms that infiltrate the common language, to make it more appealing. That could be a strategy right there. You
Yeah.
hear transhumanist terms in the general public thrown around all the time. They just call it Medicare or Medicaid, or and they argue about these things endlessly, or healthcare policy or whatever, and they argue endlessly about it, but they don't actually realize it is. So once the general public sort of realizes that 17% of the American budget is going to a transhumanist idea, and that the transhumanist ideas can reduce that 17% of the budget to a 4% budget and 10,000 time outcomes. I mean, that's some gold coin waiting to happen. That's it. That's it. The end of the questions. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the audience about yourself, about your campaign, about what you're trying to do, what your strategy are, about the other candidates, about what about anything else you want to tell them? As a final comments, you can go for your life. I'll sit here all day if I have to. It's absolutely wonderful. You have the floor.
Um, at this particular time, no. Other than to say that I really want to see all of the candidates and all of the participants in the group and all of the members come together and do what they love doing the best, what they're good at, to help us move forward. Whether it is design, let's work together and create projects where we, can, like the other day I mentioned, possibly making something simple like a Facebook frame, or the AR, uh, uh, what's it called? I forget what it's called, but it's just the filter, the AR filter. That is transhumanist themed. Make something simple like that, something that they enjoy doing, that they're good at, and that helps promote us. And I really, 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 really want to see more of that.
All right, so
That's a basic.
that's nice. So, New World Optimist, thank you very much for coming on. We'll work the U.S. Constitution all out. That's the only one you stumbled on. Every other one you knocked out of the park. So well done on that. And I look forward to seeing you in your campaign. And Zoltan Itzvan, as you've probably seen, he said to people, get outside, do something that's going to hit the big time media. Maybe take that advice on board as well. Because it is good advice, and we do need good positive spin on it. And we need people to contemplate these things, because regardless of what happens with an oil crisis or another war in the Middle East or anything, these budgets, these scientific measures aren't going away. They're only coming faster. And we need to think about these things and contemplate where you want to go, because humanity is starting to split up. It's starting to evolve. It's starting to go its own ways. We sit right at the crux. We are right at the fork in the road here. And people like yourself need to lead us out of the impasse.
I am right there with you, and I will not lead anybody. You all will lead yourself. No, seriously, we will inspire one another. And that is the point of it. But damn, it's a good time to be alive, isn't it?
Very libertarian comments there. Thank you very much. Kimberly Forsythe, New World Optimist, thank you very much for coming on Detonation.
Thank you, Steele. I appreciate it.
No problem.